Tonight,
and my ponytail was gone, and I started screaming.
Serious questions for the health authority after a Métis man says his ponytail was cut off without consent at a Saskatoon hospital. Also, a 32-year-old mother is charged with impaired driving after a fatal crash near Dundurn. Plus, a look at the diversity of candidates running in the provincial election.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, October the 24th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. Saskatchewan health officials are investigating after an Indigenous elder had his hair cut off without his permission during treatment for a leg injury. The patient's hair was braided into a ponytail for cultural and spiritual significance. Now, Indigenous healthcare advocates are calling for answers on how it happened. Alexander Silberman reports.
It's going to haunt me.
Reuben St. Charles is still in shock when he looks in the mirror.
I had a long ponytail up to here.
His long braid gone, cut off without consent at a Saskatoon hospital while he was being treated for a fractured hip.
I was in enough pain as it is.
When the Métis elder got into an ambulance in late August after a fall, he passed out from the pain. He woke up hours later at the Royal University Hospital and noticed something was wrong.
My ponytail was gone, and I started screaming.
The 73-year-old had been growing his hair out for 30 years for cultural reasons. He had planned to one day pass it on to his sister after his death. He says he swore and yelled after realizing his ponytail had been cut. After he started asking questions, he says nurses behind a curtain laughed at him. St. Charles received an apology letter from hospital officials. It says, in part, "We acknowledge this incident caused a profound impact on you, and we are taking immediate steps to fully understand what occurred." But St. Charles says he wants an apology and an explanation directly from the person responsible.
Why? Why did they do that to me?
What on earth would provoke somebody to cut someone's hair when you're operating on his hip?
This patient advocate says the incident showed a lack of respect.
For Indigenous people, our hair is more than just a body part. It signifies so much to us.
Forcibly cutting hair is one way residential schools stripped away Indigenous identities. The Saskatchewan Health Authority says it recognizes that cutting hair without permission can invoke past cultural trauma and that an external investigation is underway. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Regina.
A 32-year-old woman from south of Saskatoon is accused of killing a mother and daughter in a drunk driving crash. Brittany Dawn Berry sat impassively in court this morning during a 45-minute bail hearing. There is a ban on publishing the details of that hearing, and people on social media are mourning Lori and Jamie Hanna. Dan Zakreski brings us the story.
Lori Hanna's last post on Facebook 5 days ago was one of gratitude. The 53-year-old thanked her mother for picking up groceries for a road trip. Lori and her 22-year-old daughter Jamie were driving to Moose Jaw later that day. They were killed hours later, just south of Saskatoon. Police say that a truck traveling on the wrong side of the highway hit the Hanna's SUV head-on. Officers say the driver was a 32-year-old woman who was drunk and had two of her own kids in the back of the truck. They all survived with minor injuries. Brittany Berry is facing more than a dozen charges, including drunk driving and criminal negligence causing death. Berry appeared in person this morning for her bail hearing. She stared at the floor as members of Hanna's family wept, hearing details of the crash. Berry's lawyer says emotions in the community are running high, but cautioned that the facts of exactly what happened on that stretch of highway are not yet known.
In a situation where someone is presumed innocent, they should be released, and that's one of the fundamental principles in Canada, that individuals are released from custody pending trial.
A joint service for Laura and Jamie Hanna is scheduled for October 30th. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Regina Police Service is offering up to $50,000 for any information that leads them to the arrest of Daniel Atom. Atom was named Canada's most wanted for his role in the murder of Roman Miller. Miller was shot and killed outside a business on Broad Street last July. The other suspect, Shedrick Samuel, turned himself in earlier this year. The BOLO, or Be on the Lookout program, is working with the Regina Police in this case, which includes the cash reward and a large billboard campaign across Saskatchewan and Alberta.
You've been on a run for over a year now. That's 1 year of looking over your shoulder 24/7. Are the police going to come when you're having drinks with friends? Are you going to wake up at 2 a.m. to the sound of the police busting your door? This is very uncomfortable. And today, your world gets even smaller. Everyone will know you're wanted. Everyone will be on the lookout for you.
Miller's family was at the media event. They say life has been very hard without him.
It's just hard not having him in our lives anymore because he was the joy. Like he knew how to just lighten the room, right? And he was the light in the room. So we miss him.
Anyone with information on Atom is asked to contact police or provide an anonymous tip through Crime Stoppers. Advance voting is well underway ahead of Monday's provincial election. The two major parties spent part of their days in two cities considered battlegrounds for seats. Saskatchewan Party leader Scott Moe was in Moose Jaw, while Carla Beck started her day in Prince Albert. Adam Hunter has more.
NDP leader Carla Beck gave her pitch to voters in the Prince Albert area. She says her party can win, but they need voters to go to the polls and check the box in their favor.
I am incredibly excited by the response and the momentum that we have in this campaign right now. People in this province are looking for change. They're looking for change in Prince Albert. They're looking for change in Regina and Saskatoon. But the responses we are hearing outside of major centers of the cities is incredibly encouraging.
Both leaders were in Prince Albert and Moose Jaw over the past couple of days. Recent polls suggest this race is the closest Saskatchewan has seen in years.
Polls are polls, and media and other pundits are going to interpret them however they like. What we're going to do, and what most of the people in this room are going to do, the minute this press conference is done, is to go out and talk to Saskatchewan Party supporters in this community of Moose Jaw and the surrounding areas, and ask them to go vote for a brighter future for them and their children. The poll that matters. None of these polls that have been released matter. The poll that matters is on October the 28th. That's the one we're focused on as candidates. That's the one we're focused on in volunteers.
Moe held his campaign rally here in downtown Moose Jaw. It's the constituency of Moose Jaw-Waccamaw. It's been Sask Party territory since 2007, but the incumbent is not running. And historically, it's been one of the closest races across the province. It's expected to be another close vote on Monday night. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Moose Jaw.
Now, voting is something that some people do take for granted, but for those with disabilities, voting is also complicated. Election Saskatchewan says it is trying to remove barriers to voting. There's accessible parking outside and staff to help those who may need more time, assistance, or space when they vote. A 27-year-old Regina voter we spoke with says she has autism and ADHD, as well as a visual impairment, which makes reading a ballot difficult.
So the thing that makes it challenging for me to cast my vote is sight sometimes, to see what party I'm voting for on the ballot, because it's all black and white, I think, if I can recall from last election. It's just very tiny lettering.
Election Saskatchewan says having an entire week to vote as well as mail-in options is part of the strategy. People are also allowed to bring in service animals and communication devices if they need to. Advocates say one of the bigger needs, particularly in rural areas, is better transportation options. The federal government has announced a major cut to immigration. It's reducing permanent immigration levels by at least 20%.
Today, we're announcing that we will reduce the number of immigrants we bring in over the next 3 years, which will result in a pause in the population growth over the next 2 years. This builds on our previously announced measures to cap international student permits and reform the temporary foreign worker program, all of which we are implementing with a single aim: stabilize our population growth to give all levels of government time to catch up.
Trudeau said that following the pandemic, the government didn't quite get the balance right. And today's announcement follows criticism that population growth played a role in the lack of housing and affordability. It's been cooler outside, but my goodness, has it ever been pretty? We have really been treated this fall. This is how things looked in the Queen City today. Despite some windy days, still lots of colorful leaves on those trees. So what is to come as we look to the end of the week? Ethan has your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. When it comes to politics, is diversity a strategy or just diversity? Pratyush Dayal takes a look at the diversity of candidates in Saskatchewan's provincial election.
The candidates for Saskatchewan's 30th general election look more diverse than ever before. In 2020, the NDP ran many racialized immigrants in Saskatoon and Regina. This time, the Sask party has 13 immigrants running versus the NDP's 3.
It is easier to get diverse candidates to run because you have a large pool to draw from.
This political studies professor says there's great value in voters seeing themselves represented. It's also strategic.
We know from looking at the federal Conservative Party, really from the Harper years forward, there's a concerted effort to try to win over voters from ethno-racialized minority backgrounds.
Westlake says the NDP may have fewer candidates who are immigrants, but they have more who are women and Indigenous.
I'm proud of the slate of candidates that we've put forward. They're working hard to represent, to connect with people in their communities. And also, you know, if we are elected, if we have the honor of forming government, you know, it is our focus on making sure that we represent all people that we represent.
And I'm seeing that diversity is being part of politics as well.
This Sask party candidate says his Regina South Albert riding is the most diverse in the city. With redistribution, it includes Harbour Landing and the many newcomers in that neighborhood.
Well, I think it is most important if somebody is from background like me running and people can relate to them.
In at least 7 ridings, first-time racial minority candidates will be running for Sask party against NDP incumbents. Westlake says past research shows parties do this on purpose.
So we do see this troubling phenomena where both women and I think to some degree ethno-racialized minorities end up being run as sacrificial lambs, so to speak. Basically in ridings where the party already knows they have no hope of winning.
Monday night results will be a testament to whether voters choose a diverse roster of candidates and the communities they represent. Pratyush Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The families of 2 murdered Indigenous women from Manitoba are one step closer to the answers they've been seeking for nearly 2 years. The province has begun a 3rd stage in the search for the women's remains at a landfill near Winnipeg. As Cameron McIntosh reports, final preparations are now underway.
This excavator prepping the search site, exposing a target area where Cambria Harris is confident her mother's remains are buried.
It's been 2 years now that my mom's been laying in a landfill, as well as Mercedes Myron, and that's 2 years too long.
Harris, Myron, and 2 other women, Rebecca Contois and a woman identified by this jacket and the name Buffalo Woman, were murdered in 2022. Their now convicted killer admitted to police he disposed their dismembered remains in the garbage. It's believed the remains of Myron and Harris are in this corner of the landfill, about 5 to 8 meters down in a target zone covering about 2 hectares. As it's being exposed, a sorting facility is being set up, with test digs showing encouraging results.
The material that we excavated was drier than expected, and so that's good news. We were able to read newspapers and receipts and things like that.
Originally, police in the previous provincial government dismissed a search, calling it impractical and dangerous.
Search landfills!
Angering the victims' families, Indigenous leaders, and supporters over the symbolism of Indigenous women left in the garbage. Manitoba's current premier calls this a humanitarian act.
It was always possible. It required political will.
The families say it's about dignity for the victims and all Indigenous women.
In the next few months ahead, it'll be very emotionally tolling, it'll be physically tolling.
The actual search is expected to begin in early December. It's a daunting task ahead, digging up the equivalent of about 5,100 garbage trucks worth of waste, then sorting through it all by hand. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Our greatest auto sale is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. I'm not used to frost on the windshield yet. Can I say that? It's frustrating.
You know, and it's weird because we're well into October now.
But it's so nice out.
But it's been so nice. I keep saying it. We've been spoiled. We're getting to be wimps at this point. I guess we just got to get used to it. But yeah, pretty frosty morning for many of us. Kind of the second morning in a row here where we've seen those temperatures drop down at the early morning hours through Saskatchewan. But we improved nicely today through south and central. We got into double-digit territory again. That's the thing. Our temperatures warm up pretty quickly even through the morning hours. Even this up in the north, lower single-digit temperatures. That's still seasonal for this time of year. And even around places like Saskatoon, which was actually our warm spot, getting up to 11. But it sure was windy around Saskatoon. We actually had a gust earlier today reported near 70 kilometers an hour in the Bridge City, and winds, though, this afternoon kind of starting to come down. We did have a little bit of moisture moving through parts of the province in kind of the morning hours. A lot of that has tapered off now, but we're still picking up some scattered showers here and there and even some flurries being picked up on radar. But by and large, sunshine has come back. Now, I think a few maybe scattered showers possible in eastern sections overnight tonight and maybe some flurries for the north. But this area of high pressure as we get into tomorrow going to continue clearing out the clouds, and I think we'll have a nice sunny day for many locations. Even into the north, I think a sun-cloud mix is what we'll expect. High pressure moves away, though. By Saturday morning, there is a band of cloud cover that's going to take over most of the province. But then getting into the afternoon on Saturday, that'll pretty quickly clear away. I think, again, for the southern half, we'll be seeing some sunshine and still maybe some lingering cloud up north. And the next weather maker we'll have to keep our eye on is early next week. This may impact Election Day in parts of northern Saskatchewan as we see kind of a messy system move in with this low pressure system. But for south and central, as of right now, it looks like we'll escape relatively unscathed from that. With that high pressure moving in, I think for the most part we are looking at winds dying down as well. Tomorrow we're certainly not looking for things to be as gusty as they were today, especially if you were in Saskatoon. Maybe picking up a little bit on Saturday here and there, but nothing overly gusty over this next little while. Now, the other thing we're watching is kind of an improvement in temperatures. The seasonal weather that we've had going to get even nicer. This ridge in the jet stream starting to move in as we hit Sunday, and that'll bring some nice temperatures as it starts to move out a little bit as we get into the beginning of next week. But for the forecast for Regina, the next couple of days, basically a rinse and repeat situation here. Nice for the Rider game, I think, on Saturday, and there's that bump up in temperature for Sunday, Monday. Going to be nice on Election Day in Regina and the south. Then we get a reality check again, and we're back down to more seasonal temperatures for the rest of the week. For Saskatoon, again, very similar here next couple of days. Sunday, gorgeous. A little bit of a breeze possibly on Monday when you head out to vote, but then the temperatures getting back to seasonal value. So yeah, nice daytime temperatures, Sam, but as we get overnight with these clear skies, I think we're in for a little more of those frosty nights.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Well, if you've ever wondered what a real dust devil is, one of them was captured on video in the United Arab Emirates. You can see it towering over a road where people were traveling. Dust devils are found in temperate and tropical regions around the world, and they're created by strong surface heating and are generally smaller and less intense than a tornado. We'll be back after the break. Oh, this next story. Pumpkin spice is absolutely everywhere as soon as fall comes around. It's in coffee, desserts, scented candles. But I bet you've never heard of this. It is a pumpkin spice scented car wash, complete with pumpkin spice infused foam soap. It's a New England-based car wash chain where it's available, and it's recommending you turn up your air conditioning or your heat so you get the full scent of the pumpkin spice. A portion of the costs, though, from each car will go toward buying meals for people with critical illnesses. Something good from the wacky.
No kidding. Maybe if they put any other scent other than pumpkin spice, I'd be there. Not much of a pumpkin spice guy myself. Even like strawberry flavored, maybe, something good. Anyway, gonna feel like pumpkin spice weather tonight because it's getting chilly. 2 degrees at midnight in Regina, but -5 by tomorrow morning. Grab the gloves before you leave the house because it's gonna feel like -9. Although mostly sunny, I think we'll be keeping the sunshine around for much of the day. And just like today, it's gonna warm up pretty quick. We get to 7 degrees by noon. And that's not even our high temperature for tomorrow. I think it'll be around 10 in Regina. Saskatoon, after a temperature of around freezing near midnight, you'll be feeling closer to -11 by the time you get to tomorrow morning. But just like Regina, the temperatures climb pretty quickly, so won't be frosty for long, Sam.
You're going to have frosty reception for people who like pumpkin spice.
Oh, I know. I'll let them have it. I'll let them have it.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we leave you tonight, it was a bittersweet moment in Ottawa today as 2 daughters accepted a bravery award for their mom, who died of cancer in 2019.
When an armed man threatened his wife with a rifle, Sandra stood between them and talked him down. Twice she grabbed the rifle, tearing off parts of it until it fell.
The sisters Billie Jean Dieter and Patricia June Lawson were awarded the medal. Their mother, Sandra Denomi, helped foil a scary incident on the Papikasas First Nation in 2018. She was able to calm a man who was threatening his wife at a clinic. She grabbed his rifle and prevented any gunfire. The man was later captured by police. A proud moment for that family, no doubt. That is it for us tonight. For more on the provincial election campaign, you can head to cbc.ca/sask. We're back here tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.